You had some problems with what happened yesterday?
Not good, Fred. Not good.
Okay, so what was the worst thing? Because there was plenty to watch. They gave us something to watch at least in the first quarter, and it was an exciting fourth. And there were plays being made. What is it? What is it that's got you the most upset?
Oh, Hardy, you get the ball back with 7:59 left in the game after Christian Gonzalez's interception. You're at your own 48-yard line. You're up 24-17. You're in your home stadium. That's when you put the stake through the opponent's heart and you bury them. And they couldn't have come up smaller offensively, defensively, special teams wise, and coaching wise. Folded.
Okay. Explain coaching, your problems with the coaching.
Okay. Start with 3rd and 10. Colts have the ball on their 19-play game-winning drive. Got to challenge that. One of the first things I did, you got to challenge that. Was it a catch or not a catch by Mallory? Not the first thing, but one of the things I wanted to do this morning, go watch the play over again, send it to one of the contacts I have that has worked in officiating, ask them, explain to me. I don't always understand the intricacies of the catch rule. Was this a catch? And the response comes back to me. That was not a catch in my view. That was pretty clear. The ground aided, the catch. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, Fred, on the coaching, just defensively, just do something, I don't, it's not an acceptable answer from someone in my position. I need to watch it again closer, but you just can't let the opponent do that. Drive 19 yards, do something different. I know it's too simple of an answer, but that's just where I'm at right now.
That is one of the things that stood out to me because it was in contrast to what I was told and what I was hearing before the game, which is that this was, kind of a pieced together offensive line for the Colts yesterday, which is something that the Patriots have been dealing with a lot this season. But their ability to move the football against the Patriots defense, especially at the end when they drove down the field. What was that? A 19-play drive. They went 80 yards, and there was just nothing they could do. And I understand they're tired, but everybody's tired. You just needed to get a stop on one or two plays, and that whole thing would have been avoided.
And Hardy, I am cognizant of that. One play goes the other way. What we're talking about is probably different. So I'm trying not to be too extreme in what I'm saying. At the same time, you do give some credit to the Colts. Those are some big footballs they showed, to 3 for 3 on 4th down on that drive and the 2-point conversion.
Yep.
If the roles were reversed, we'd be saying, hey, look, Patriots maybe didn't deserve that game, but they came through right when they needed it the most.
Do you think that the team is utilizing Drake May as much as it can? You see Richardson, who's not as good a quarterback as May, but they're both very athletically gifted. Do you think Mayo and the offensive coaching staff are giving May enough opportunity, giving him enough chances?
I do, Fred. I think the bigger issue to me, just in my initial review of the game this morning, is it will look even better when they have better support around him. I think where the game broke down for the offense, you can go back to the offensive line, which is pretty much the same story we've been talking about all season.
I'm wondering how you grade out the defensive backs, because we spent a lot of time talking about Anthony Richardson before we brought you on. Anthony Richardson is not a good quarterback. He completed 12 passes total, but the defensive backs made some really good plays in the fourth quarter. 3 different. I mean, you had Gonzalez with a pick, Alex Austin, even though he got beat once, made a very nice play on a deep ball. and Marcus Jones had a hand in there on a ball as well. But when it mattered the most, they couldn't help take the defense off the field. So I'm wondering how you think they did yesterday.
So one of the questions I have for Gerard Mayo at 9:00 this morning is just personnel wise on that final drive. Where was Jonathan Jones? Where was Marcus Jones? What was it that led to Alex Austin being out on the field? And maybe it was just rotation. I don't think it was injury. I asked Jonathan Jones after the game. He led me to believe that it was an injury. So that's the first thing, John, just from going back to the whole discussion about coaching and all that. That was very interesting to me. Got to have it drive. And they're going with Alex Austin over Jonathan Jones on the outside. So that stood out to me. In terms of how they did, I didn't think the defensive backs would be really more at the top of my list, other than maybe Kyle Duggar on the touchdown at the end and the 2-point conversion. Whatever the defensive call was, he was out of the play for whatever reason, rushing off of the defensive right side when the run action was to the opposite side of the field. So I'm not sure what was going on there with him. So I thought probably more of an issue up front with the run game than the pass game.
Well, Duggar had a bad game.
Well, I thought a couple plays, Fred, I thought it was better than last week. And I know that's probably not saying much because against Miami, that was not a good game. I thought he looked better yesterday, but in the critical situations, the touchdown, the 2-point conversion, maybe a couple other plays, he didn't make the plays, and that can be the difference in the game.
All right. So if you're looking at this from the other side, or from, I guess, maybe how the Colts handled their business, do you think Mayo and the rest of the coaching staff and the Patriots in general look at this and say, there's a team that actually played to win. There's a team that actually got aggressive and did something that, Bob and Zoe didn't think they were going to. They thought they were going to kick the extra point and play for overtime. Instead, they went for the win. Does Mayo look at that and say, there's value in there? There's something that we could be doing and something we could be playing these games for in order to win? Because, again, the aggression and the play calling in order to win games as opposed to just stay close in them hasn't been there.
I think there's probably something to be said for that, Hardy. They get the ball back. We sort of talked about this after the Gonzalez interception, and they ran it twice. And I think part of that is trying to be smart. The clock's a little bit of your friend there. You got good field position. You figure 1 first down, you can start working that clock down. But it is a little bit of a conservative approach when you got an offensive line that is inconsistent. And yes, you ran for 200 yards, but what do we always say? A good running team is one that when the opponent knows you're going to run the ball, you still get yardage. And the Patriots, so they rushed for 200, but I would argue that they're not a good running team because when they needed to get the yardage, they couldn't get it. So I guess I'm split, Hardy, on that. I think I get the whole aggressiveness part of it, but I'm also looking at it saying they're not smart what they're doing. The offensive line let them down in that situation.
What is your opinion about trying a 68-yard field goal as opposed to a Hail Mary at the end? And also, kind of piggybacking off of that, what is your opinion about the future of Joey Sly on this team? Because he can make the long ones, but his ability to shank the short ones has really hurt this team.
So, John, my initial thought was both are low percentage plays. The last time there was a 68-yard field goal attempt in the NFL, I think it was 20, maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago, and it was down in Jacksonville with Matt Prater, and no one's ever made a 68-yard field goal. So that's sort of significant. Hail Mary is obviously low percentage, and given the way that the offensive line is and the receivers are, I can't say I had great. I almost look at it like one or the other. It's probably the same percentage in my view. I watched Joey Sly's warm up. I thought he was pretty good. He hit from along the 62 and it had some room. So if everything lines up right, it's not unreasonable to think it could happen. I don't think it was this could never happen. And then on the short field goal after the game, he was talking about something with the operation and communication between him and the holder, Bryce Beringer, and the snapper. So something was off there, because that one wasn't even close. And then on his future, my hunch, John, is he'll still be around, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the things that happened in the game, I found it odd that whether they went for a 68-yard field goal at the end or a Hail Mary was even a talking point. Like, they weren't going to get either of them.
I mean, most likely not, Fred. I mean, I think when I keep going back to this, like when they needed to make a play, I didn't think the offensive line accounted well for itself down the stretch, I guess on that drive after the Gonzalez pick. So I guess you're asking what's the confidence level that they would have been able to protect long enough, to give Drake a chance to get it down there. But could have done that, and I wouldn't have argued with it either, to be honest with you.
Okay, is Indianapolis a better team than the Patriots?
Slightly, Fred. But I thought on this day, like, to me, that's not the argument I would make, that the better team won. Like, I thought the Patriots should have won the game.
Are you concerned about Gerard Mayo's coaching?
Maybe I would round it out and just say I'm concerned about the coaching in general. 5 holding penalties. Is the attention to detail there on the offensive line, with where the linemen's hands are? Are the receivers consistently detail-wise running the right routes? Like, I think probably more that, like, bigger picture coaching is the attention to detail there than like game management stuff. Like, I do think he should have challenged that on that final drive. I think that's fair, but probably more bigger picture, Fred, just the coaching in general than drilling down on specifically like Gerard's game management.
Okay, because the question then becomes, is he's a first-year coach with a no talent on his team. The really good news is that his quarterback, his 22-year-old quarterback, is arguably his best player. So that's like winning the lottery for the Patriots. But I just don't know. There's this chorus of people that want Mayo fired, and then they should have never hired him in the first place. Because let me ask it this way: say McVay is the coach of this team. Sean McVay is the coach of this team. We all agree he's a very good coach. Mm-hmm. How many games have they won this year? And the Patriots do this exercise?
I think within 1 or 2 of what you have right now.
Okay, so basically, it's kind of unfair for Mayo to judge him on what's going on with this team, because just the idea that they're in games in some situations, I'm seeing coaches around the league like fall apart, like lose teams, and this team's playing hard for him. Mm-hmm. I just think that things could be a lot worse than they are. I understand it's hard for Patriots fans to see losses because they're not used to them, but things could be far, far worse than this. Do you agree?
I do. I want to volley this back to you, Fred, and ask you, because I was thinking something similarly, but a little bit of a different view. I was wondering if the Patriots had the Lions' offensive line, how many more wins do you think they would have?
If they just had the personnel, they'd have a couple more wins. But I think it goes back to what you said, Mike. It's the overall coaching. It's everything that these guys are dealing with in the week leading up to the game.
I can tell you what they would have beat Miami. They would have beat Seattle. The Seahawks. They would have beat.
They would have won yesterday.
Yeah, and they would have won yesterday. They'd have 3 more wins. Oh, they would have beat the Titans too. They'd have 4 more wins if they had the offensive line that the
they'd have
Lions
6.
had.
They'd have what? What is that? 6, 7? I mean,
4 more wins. So yeah, they'd have
7 wins. They'd be in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, they'd be in the playoff hunt right now. Yes.
And I do think I think it's both, to be honest with you guys. Like, I think the coaching can be better, and I think that's fair to say. And I think Gerard would actually probably agree with that. He's, I think the talent's a big part of it too, and that's the one area to me, the line and then the receivers, and you change that and maybe it's a little bit different, but it's where we are. I mean, there was so much in this game, guys. I got my notes. I got my red zone stuff. Like, I was in the locker room after the game. Christian Barmore was really, really upset. Thought he got held on that 2-point conversion. You go back and watch it, and he probably had a point. But
Chop block, yeah.
But at the same time, I think that's sort of like the loser's lament, right? Like when you're talking about calls or missed calls, like just don't put yourself in that position, right?
Right.
They should have locked that game up a long time before then. If they had stayed out of their own way.
Well, yeah, the first half they should have. Game should have been what, 19 to
should have been 17-7 at the start.
17-7 at the start,
and then you had 3 chances to get off the field on 4th down, and you had a pass interference on 3rd and long. I mean, they had their opportunities. And they should have put the game away.
And that's what bad teams do. I mean, that's just what bad teams do. I mean,
go ahead. I got one other thing for you guys. I was going through the red zone. Because that was a big part of this, right? They're 2 of 6 in the red zone, and I always try to go deeper and find out why, right? And so I think for those that are curious, they were in there 6 times. They had 3 penalties, 2 holds, 1 illegal shift on Pop Douglas / Drake May. So start with that. Then you get the 1 bad break, right? With the Hunter Henry pass, which he said he should have caught. Drake thought he was a little inaccurate on the pass, but that's the red zone. That's tight window. And then I think you got to give credit to the Colts a little bit. I thought their coverage was pretty good down there in the red zone. And one thing I will say, Drake, especially on the first red zone trip, I think sometimes just sort of drifting out of the pocket, like backwards. I think those were the 4 things that I identified as to why they were 2 of 6 in the red zone. And if one of those changes, again, maybe our whole conversation is a little bit different.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.